Today I'm going to be creating a tutorial for you to create your own do-it-yourself light-up card. So the card will look something like this. When you press the button, your card will light up. And if you are viewing this tutorial, hopefully you stopped by the front of the school during library curbside pickup hours and you picked up your very own kit for this. So your kit is going to come with a couple different items. Copper tape, which you will need to create the electric current. It will also come with your little light bulb. And you will have one battery in here as well. And then it also comes with a piece of cardstock. Of course, if you have your own paper at home that is a different color or you'd prefer to use, or if maybe you give this a try and it doesn't work on the first try and you want to get a different piece of paper, this is just plain cardstock, so you can use something that you have at home. It also has a little map of how I'm going to structure this. So I'm going to kind of show you how to create this today, but this is sort of a visual guide that you can use. And it also has some troubleshooting tips. So if you create your card and at the end it still doesn't light up, you can take a look at these items and try out some of these, and usually that will get you back on the right track so that your card will light up. But as with all making opportunities, it's trial and error, and part of the fun is testing everything out and trying to figure out how it works. So today I'm going to take you through the steps of creating your card. All right, so the first thing that you're going to want to do is just fold your card in half. And although now this kind of looks like a traditional card, remember the inside of your card, I'll kind of show you, is going to have all of your mechanics in it. So this part of the card isn't going to show. So you kind of want to think of it as like a postcard. So the only part that is going to show a message is the part on the front. So for this part, you're going to want to draw something and think about where you want to incorporate that light bulb. So in my example, I incorporated my light bulb as the dot and the eye for you light up my world. And I'm going to come up with something new this time. So this time I came up with the idea of a stoplight. So it says stop by and say hello. And I'm going to use my light right here. I have a red light, so I'm going to put it in the red light position on the stoplight so that when you push the button, it's like lighting up telling you to stop by to say hello. So you want to kind of make a hole for your light. It's nice to have like a toothpick or a paper clip or a needle or anything that's kind of pointy. If you're using something sharp, make sure you're being very careful. And kind of poke a hole right where you're going to put your light, because eventually, not quite yet, but eventually you're going to put the metal ends of your light in here so that your light's on the outside. We're not going to get there quite yet though. But hopefully you've drawn something and you've created a hole where you want your light to be. The other thing you want to decide on your card is where you're going to put your button. So your button is where your battery is going to press onto that circuit and make your light light up. So you don't want to put your button somewhere that's in the way of your design. So I kind of usually like to put it somewhere in the bottom corners so that it's kind of out of the way of my design. So you're going to decide where you're going to put your button, and you're going to create a little instruction to let whoever is looking at your card know that that's where they need to press. So I'm going to put my button in the lower left-hand corner of my card, and I'm just going to write very small, press here. So now you see that it says press here in the lower left-hand corner of my card. And then I want to make sure that I mark that spot as where, I'm getting confused of left and right, mark my spot as to where my battery is going to go. So I'm going to take a look at where that press here lands on the inside. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a pencil and I'm going to make a really dark pencil mark right there so that I can mark my spot, and you'll kind of see how that will help me in a second. So I've made a really dark pencil spot right underneath where it says press here, and I'm going to close that, and I'm just going to really rub with my finger or with a pencil or with the end of a pencil or the end of a marker. I'm going to really rub that spot really hard so that now when I open up my card, you see it's mirrored. I have the little mirror image of it right here. And that's going to help me to build my circuit later on so that I know that the end of my circuit matches up with where my battery is. So you want to make sure that you create that little mirror image pencil mark right underneath where you've placed your button. All right, for the next step, we're getting ready to make our circuit. So we've got to use our copper tape in order to make a connection between the battery, which is down here, and the light. Okay, so right now this circuit is open. When I bring the end of my copper tape to my battery, it closes the circuit and lights up the bulb. So we've got to create a path from our bulb to our battery to the end of our circuit so that they can be opened and closed. So that's what I'm going to do next. So I've got my copper tape here, and I'm going to create a path that leads from, so there's a little bit of backing on this that is a little hard to peel, but once you get it, all right, so I've got my end peeled. All right, so you can see how it kind of peels off. I'm going to take this from the center of my first pencil mark all the way up to about, I don't know, maybe like 1/3 of an inch away from where my light bulb hole is. So I'll show you what I mean here in a second. So my first line of tape goes from the center of my bottom pencil mark, and then it goes all the way up until it comes to about 1/3 of an inch away from that hole that I created. And then my next path is going to go from about another 1/3 of the inch away up to from that hole to the center of this pencil mark. Okay, so it looks kind of like this. Now I'm going to take my light bulb and I'm going to put it through that hole that I created earlier. I'm going to put both metal ends through. And then see how it has these two little legs? I'm going to split those apart. And one of them, and you might kind of have to turn your bulb, one of them is going to lay on top, not underneath, on top one end of your metal path. And the other is going to lay on top of the other end. So you want to make sure that they have good contact with the metal. And then I am going to take a little bit of tape and I'm going to tape those ends down. I like to use some sturdy tape, like a painter's tape. Works really well, but if you just have Scotch tape, that's fine too. A little bit of duct tape that you can do. And I'm just going to tape those legs into place. All right, so you can see that I've taped those down. The next thing that I'm going to do is tape my battery down here on the bottom part of my card where I've placed that pencil mark. All right, so you can see that I've taped my battery down. It's a good idea to test your connection. So before you tape your battery down, put it where you want it to go and press and make sure that your light lights up. If it doesn't light up, most likely the only thing you need to do is flip your battery around. So that's just a good little thing to do before you tape it so that you don't have to untape it to flip it, because that's like the number one troubleshooting technique. So now I've taped my battery down and my card is done. So when I close my card and press my button, the light bulb lights up, and now stop by and say hello. When I press it, my little stop sign lights up. So that's it. If you have completed this and your light bulb is not working, definitely check out those troubleshooting tips, okay? Because they're going to tell you kind of the basic things that you could be running into issues with. So like I said, flipping that battery 9 times out of 10 will fix it. But sometimes you need to double check and make sure that your copper tape actually does meet up with the battery, or make sure that those little metal legs are actually making good contact with that metal tape. So just check all your connections and make sure everything's making good contact. But if you go through this list, it should help you figure out where you've kind of missed the mark and get your card lighting up. So I hope that you enjoy this craft and keep a lookout for more make and take opportunities from your JML library. Bye guys.